6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So just so that everybody knows, Superintendent Terry Martin will not be here this evening. He's actually out of state with a family emergency, so Kevin Strong will be stepping in and kind of answering any questions that we might have along those lines. And if we can't get an answer for something, I'll make sure that we get the answer from Terry and get it reported out to everybody. So if you pray, please pray. It's not a great situation anytime you have to leave the state for a family emergency, so please do that. All right, next we have our ESPY and Spark Awards. I didn't pull out the sheet for this. Is it here? It is not. So ESPY stands for Exceptional Student Performance this year. It is an award given to kids who demonstrate, it's not on there, it's the little thing that I have that kind of describes it. So it's kids that demonstrate leadership, they refuse bullying, they do well academically and interacting with their peers. And so the school board wants to recognize the kids at the beginning of every meeting. So we'll have Dale Keene handing out the awards tonight. For the kids that win an award tonight, your name will be entered into a drawing at the end of the year for a nice prize. In the past, that's been an iPad or something along those lines. So we just want to celebrate you guys. So Dale, go ahead.
All right, my client, please come up. And then when I'm all done, we'll have you guys, everybody come back up for a picture. You're right, from high school. Also from high school, Bodie Park. From junior high, Ace Moore. Also from junior high, Brandon Jameson. And from Foster, Madison Croft. Also from Foster, Sadie Moore. From Hawthorne, Nathan, butcher this, Yulry. Also from Hawthorne, Riley Allison. Holly, Gracie Mae Ross. All right. Also from Holly, Annalie Hansen. From Heights, Logan Myers. From Heights, Izzy Marinello. From Charter School, Olivia Langley. back up and check the newspaper.
Yeah, you guys all face that way.
About taller in the back, and we want to see everyone's faces. So everybody move forward. Come on
Yeah,
up.
come up here, guys. I'm in front of the desks right here.
How about kind of come on up here? How about let's maybe you can spread out a bit, and let's guys. That would be great. Great. Okay. How about on 3 cheese? 1, 2, 3, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you.
So for the kids that weren't here to get their awards tonight, we'll make sure we get those to the kids and make sure they're celebrated properly as well. We do recognize this as a school night, so parents, if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, we won't be offended if you leave. If you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to though too, so.
Mass exodus, re-entry into the administration.
All right, next on the agenda, we have the agenda approval. We do have one late item that was added that makes this a revised agenda, and that's under section 10 there, 10A, response to Sweet Home High School Academic Standards Report and discussion around that. We want to make sure we have an opportunity to discuss that as well. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So, second.
Okay, so we have Dale motion and Mike second. Any discussion around the agenda? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And please tonight, since Julie is not here, she's on Zoom, so she's taking notes as best she can. She wasn't feeling well this afternoon. So I will try to read out, if I don't, read out who the motions were for her purposes. Just remind me. I might forget, and I don't want to do that. So, all right, student personnel report, certified and classified reports. I don't see anybody from the classified union, but I see Steve here.
Well, lots going on. I'll tell you that right now. And I'll tell you something else, a few more days and we go off to a break. So that's kind of exciting time, always. I reached out, first of all, we came off of a great Thanksgiving break. And, I got a shout out to Tomas Rosa in our high school and our leadership department. I think we fed over 50, what was the number? Over 52 families were served, which is, that's just cool. That's what this community does. But I reached out to different buildings and I asked the reps from the building, what's going on. And Jerica Spencer, it's fun to see everything that's happening, especially at our elementary schools. And they did a Christmas program, and now a lot of the schools are in a Spirit Week, but Hawthorne's in a Spirit Week. And she said that Sean Morgan's coming to collect Socktober items. And they've brought in over 375 items, socks, hats, gloves, scarves, things like that. And, last month, their virtue was gratitude. And I tell you, to bring that in on top of it's pretty cool. And so they awarded a student from each class at an assembly, they awarded for for gratitude and awarded them for that service. And then Joanna at Holly, they sang the kindergarten through second grade, sang at Wiley Creek, did a holiday program, which, they appreciate that. So I think that's a very cool thing. And Holly also has donated food to Shem, and then they did anybody's kids at Holly, yours are, okay. So, but they did a shelter pet supply donation tree for pets. So I think that's kind of neat. And then they're making cards. On the 14th, you guys should probably stop by Holly because they're doing hot cocoa bar, sponsored by I guess the parent teacher group. So that's exciting. Foster is doing a sing-along. They're practicing their sing-along, and the fourth grade's created on making a cookbook. I think my mom still has the cookbook we made when I was a kid at Foster, as gifts for families, which is a really cool thing to do. And on Friday, they're going to do a read-in and a holiday movie, and I would have probably followed the read on, the read along with the movie. So that works best for me. But they're there could just possibly be a special visitor on Friday at the grade school too, but we're keeping that on the wraps. There's a Christmas play at Oak Heights. Cheryl Jones told me that. The 5th and 6th graders are doing a Pirates Christmas play, and that's going to be on the 13th. So coming up, and the other 5th grade classes are singing on Friday, from what I understand. Junior high has a Christmas Spirit Week going on, just like the high school has right now, and very special. And I got to Atlas Whitlow. They've wrapped, that school has wrapped their arms around that little boy and their family, and they're about to. Nate, you said you're going to break $3,000, right? Yeah, they're going to break $3,000 very soon. So, when you're going and supporting that family, we've all seen it here. That doesn't surprise me, but it's still cool no matter what, in this community. The high school, we've got our Christmas stuff going on. We just did all the Thanksgiving things. But we did something pretty cool. Our English department they opened a contest, a narrative writing, and all the English classes across the board taught the same thing on narrative writing, and 40 students are going to be published in a book this spring, and some teachers joined the contest as well. And when you open that up, and Tomas Rosa, he called one Influence, and he wrote about me, and it was just, you're reading, and then all of a sudden there's allergies everywhere. It's just but I got to read several, and you can't stop reading them, and the people that showed their gratitude and their narratives and how they described people that were influential in their life. And it was some really cool things going on. But, the publishing of a book. But, one of the things that I like, especially, we as teachers and these administrators see, this is one of the greatest times of the year and one of the hardest times of the year, because some of these kids, their sanctuary is at the entrance door of these schools, and that for me, that was my wife when she was a kid. School was her place, and so I love that we're doing things we're buying presents, and we're giving trees, and we've got a room full of coats right back here. It's kind of cool to see what we do in this community, and these these teachers are the hugs and sending kids off, letting them know that we love them. And so it's kind of a cool place, because it's a great time, but it's a hard time too for some people. But this community and our schools just keep wrapping their arms around these kids, and even the sneaky kids, because the ones that need it the most sometimes. But no, we got a lot of neat things going on. Excited that Lebanon finally got on board and got a contract We'll be discussing some things now as we reopen. I'm excited to do that and work together, you know, and that's what we did last time. We just worked together. It wasn't, I don't think it's going to be difficult. I got a good video to send Kevin about that too, so money, money, money. So, I'm joking. But I did, I sent him a video, Abba's money, 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 when we first started talking contracts. He sent me back Tim McGraw's, I'm all out of money. So, but no, we work together. But do you guys have any questions about what's going on? We're flat rolling in the winter sports season, and a lot of kids are involved. Record numbers of involvement. We started with 64 in our wrestling program, and you know, we can't keep that many. It's too hard. So, but it's still good numbers, you know. And I know basketball had to do cuts, and good things happening. So, any questions for me on anything that's going on? You got something to vote on in here later on in this agenda. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
I just was going to make a comment on that, Steve. You are the last of the teachers that taught a class that I attended in high school.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of years.
Yep.
And a lot of very good years for you. And I've always appreciated, I know my boys both looked
Yeah.
up to you when they were in school. And, you know, you were always the one that was the positive role model.
I appreciate
The
that.
guy that came alongside of them and encouraged them.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say how much I appreciate you and your time here. And I know you're not going away right away.
No, I'm not going away. I'm just gonna retire for about 12 hours is all. So, I'm coming back though, but, it's a great opportunity for me. And, you know, I'll tell you what though, what makes you want to come back and stuff, and I said this last year was the greatest year of teaching I ever had. It was, and we're doing a lot. There's good leadership. There's good things happening. And we're taking, as Norm would have said, sometimes we take chicken crap and make chicken soup out of it. But, you know, there's some good things happening. But yeah, you guys are going to vote on that. I am, that is retired. Retiring, right? I don't know. My wife would like it to be all the way and give up a lot of other things. But no, I am retiring, but I am continuing to work back and going to keep doing that.
How many years did you?
This is 33. 33, yeah. I know I look really young, but no. 33 years. I came here in the 91, 92. I coached junior high wrestling, high school wrestling, and softball, girls JV softball, and I was a sub. And then I got into a long-term position at the junior high. And then the next year I was alt ed, and then moved mid-year into math, and been math PE, and that's been a long time. So, and it's a good thing. Dan Tao and I we were the ones that were still, we're all that's left.
I never
and
had
then
one of
Ann
his
Knight.
classes, so.
Yeah. He taught the advanced stuff. I taught low-level classes that Jason was in. So, all right, you guys, thank you for your service too. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
We'll see you guys. I'm going home.
You're not going to hang around and see if we let you go or not? All right, we do have a student here for the student report this evening, so could you please introduce yourself, because I don't know that all of us know who you are.
My name is Max Plum. I am a senior this year at the high school.
Yeah, yep,
All right,
sure.
very good. So again, Max Plum. I'm a senior. This is kind of it's a fun week. I mean, for me, I really like this week. But for teachers, it's kind of a struggle for them because you got one foot out the door, one winter, right? Like I'm ready for Christmas, and all of you guys. I like it. But we're still trying to get like everybody involved, and everybody excited to be here and want to go to school, which is important. Sports, we're doing very well in sports, as Thorpe heard. Weird call, Steve. As Thorpe said, crazy high numbers in everything. Basketball, I think they had to cut close to 30 people, and the teams are already slammed even with that, which is great. Very, very good. They're looking pretty good this year. Big group coming in and a big group leaving too. We have, I think, 8 or 9 seniors, so it'll be fun. Swim team, then swim team's great as always. They've blown out everybody they've played so far or swam against, and things looking good for them. Big team. They expect to do the same going on. Wrestling, again, same as swimming, doing great. They went to Portland the other day. And there was a 34-team tournament, 7 for guys, and I think it's 6 for girls, is what I heard. So again, it's phenomenal. Let's see, this Thursday, there is a band and choir holiday concert in the auditorium at 7. If anyone wants to come support them, I can't, but I keep trying to tell people to show up. I haven't had any part in this, but the library has started a monthly masterpiece. It's a art contest. So I think the theme for this month is the best ornament. And you just go and you can pick up a little piece of paper and color it, and whatever the best decoration is wins a little prize. And a lot of participation in that, which is good because not all students can be recognized for their talent in art, and it should be. There's a lot of people that are talented in art, and that's a good way of showing off, I feel like. School Spirit, right in the middle of a Spirit Week. Today was Pajama Day. It's my favorite day. Yesterday had over 250 kids participate in that. That was pretty good. Tomorrow, I think, is Winter Wonderland, whiteout. So I'm thinking some snow stuff. Stay warm. We have an assembly on Friday. Sending everybody off for Christmas, trying to leave on a high note, as always. We've actually started doing, again, this is not we, this is all our counselors and Student Success Center. It's all credit to them. They have started a postcard writing thing where every homeroom for the past 2, maybe 3 weeks, all of the high school kids have gotten 4 or 5 postcards. And we each write the individual kids in the elementary schools, and this week, every morning, we are going to the elementary school we all individually went to, and we're delivering it to those kids. So I'm excited. This Friday, I'm going over to Hawthorne, that's where I went. Deliver some postcards to kids. I'm excited about it. Let's see, tomorrow, there's Friendsmas. Again, Student Success Center, they did great. They're phenomenal. They have made a Friendsmas. They did Friendsgiving last month. There's going to have cookie decorating competition. They're going to have some games. They're going to have some food, and yeah. And that's all I got.
All right.
Any questions?
That's it?
Sounds like a busy time.
A little bit. Yeah, but anybody have any questions or anything?
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you guys very much.
All right. Next, we have the superintendent's report, and Kevin's going to report out on that this evening.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Item 4C1 in the board packet, enrollment. Compared to October 31st, our November 30th enrollment district-wide was up 19 students. We saw increases at Foster, Hawthorne, Holly, Oak Heights, the junior high, and the high school, and a small decrease at the charter school. And it's worth pointing out for our largest district elementary school, there's kind of been a competition going on this year between Oak Heights and Foster, and with the most recent enrollment report, Oak Heights is slightly in the lead as our largest elementary school, but it's very close.
I get the privilege of sharing the attendance numbers for the month of November. And this building was able to honor 136 students that had perfect attendance for the entire month of November, and that speaks volumes. So I'm extremely proud to award Hawthorne Elementary in November.
And then back to me, I would like to introduce Holly Elementary School Principal Josh Dargis, who is here to talk about Pillar 1 in our strategic plan, which is outstanding achievement, and talk about the character ambassadors at Holly Elementary Schools. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Kevin.
I spoke about character ambassador last year at some point, but I know we have some new board members, so I wanted to share with you guys what we've been doing the last few years. A few years ago, we went away from our, we had some different programs going on, but we wanted to focus more on character education, which focuses on different character attributes each month. We thought that this would be a way to recognize a different variety of students, and we've found a lot of success with it. So character education is a part of everyday life at Holly. Each month, students focus on a different character trait. At the end of each month, a teacher chooses a character ambassador to represent their class, and usually they choose 2 or 3. These are students who embody that month's character trait. The ambassador takes on a leadership role, serving as ambassadors for the following month and its character focus. So in September, we focus on responsibility. It's a good one that we selected as at the start of the year. October, we focus on compassion. Compassion is empathy in action. And that month is Nationwide Anti-Bullying Month, so that's why we selected compassion for that month. November, we thought gratitude would be a good character attribute that month, seeing how it's Thanksgiving. This month, we focus on service and generosity. In January, we focus on honesty and integrity, and we chose it for that month because we found that the 24th of January is Compliment Day. So in February, we're doing kindness. Again, we found a random day that
Having gratitude means being thankful. Look for the positives. Smile every day. Take time to think about things you're thankful for. I'm thankful for America. I'm grateful for my kin. Yeah! I'm thankful for my rabbit and cats. I'm thankful for food and Allison. We're thankful for Holly! I'm okay!
because that's my daughter, and Kevin will put up with us for a few more years, but eventually we're gonna have to have a discussion. But hey, he's got good character, so bring it on. That's just a snippet of our program. Do you guys have any questions?
So is this in replace of like a self-manager program or something like that?
Yeah. And we did self-managers for years. The tough part about self-managers is kids would do a good job for a while, but then they would lose it, they would make a mistake. And we came up with this in reflection of self-managers actually at a district-wide PD up at the middle school a few Junes ago. So we'd gotten through the year, we were reflecting on our year, and we just started talking about how to give more kids opportunities to be recognized, but also not have them have to be perfect the entire year. And so this is just kind of a child of that and a few other things. So absolutely.
Is it district-wide or just your school?
My school started doing it a few years ago. Oak Heights is doing it this year also, or last year too?
Last year and this year, but
Yeah.
this year we followed you guys a little bit closer, so I think we were doing.
Yeah, so Oak Heights started doing it. Our counselor's able to go around at the start of each month and talk about, give some more specifics about what the character focus is. And it's just throughout the month, we have discussions about this. This month's focus is service. Steve talked about that. We have a giving tree. We have cards that the kids are putting together where the kids really want to buy treats for all of the animals on our safe haven tree. They have to get permission though first because they just want to grab all the cute animals. And like each class had to come up with 3 different services that they're going to do this month, and they're trying to do those throughout the month. So that's just one example that we're doing. But yeah, Todd's on board, and it's going great at our school. Yeah. All right, well, thanks guys.
Thanks, Josh. All right, moving on. Next, we have the consent agenda. It's approval of the minutes from the November 13, 2023 school board meeting and the November 29, 2023 special board meeting. Accept the retirement of Steve Thorpe, math teacher at the high school, effective December 31st, 2023, and rehire back January 1st, 2024, under a post-retirement agreement, and approve the hire of William Middick, mentor, mentee, substitute teacher for the district, effective January 2nd, 2024.
Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I will second that.
Okay, so we had Dale motion and Jenna second. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank there. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, we have information and discussion items. Budget update. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I am sending Steve Thorpe a quick email that the board unanimously approved his retirement and hire back, so he knows. So,
Tell him he needs to get back down here and plead his case.
How about to begin with budget update? Year to date, so we are now 5 months into the fiscal year. Compared to the same time period last year, general fund spending is up by just over $777,000. That's primarily due to higher wage and benefit costs, also higher utility costs, higher charter school payments, and also higher property insurance and liability insurance premiums. In total, we still expect to be within our total budget for the year overall. So from that point of view, we're in good shape.
Any questions for Kevin? All right, so next we have the swimming pool levy renewal update.
Okay, me again. We have a kind of a summary for the swimming pool election in the blue booklet, and I'll just go through that. The Lynn County Elections Office has now certified the results of the November election, and so the final vote tally, the pool levy passed with 1,869 yes votes to 1,067 no votes. The county also provided us with a breakdown by precinct, and it's interesting to see that Sweet Home has 9 precincts within the school district, and the levy passed in all 9. And you see numbers there, and if you're like me, you're probably like, okay, where are those? And so if you turn to the next page, there's a map. We kind of zoomed it out first, so you can see kind of generally, say, the Crawfordsville area, the Liberty area, Holly area, Cascadia, north of the river. But then also we blew up down below for Sweet Home, so you can kind of see where that is. If you're interested in digging even deeper, we do have the county map, so you can really see where those boundaries are. But yeah, overall, all 9 precincts supported the pool levy, and it passed by just shy of a 2-to-1 margin. With that said, we did receive some questions this year about the pool levy, and just want to kind of touch on those. All of the questions dealt with the flyer you might have received in the mail, this green and yellow flyer. Just to kind of go through the questions on the front, the flyer said that voting no might save you $10,000, and so I had a lot of people go, could that really be possible, or is that accurate? For that to be accurate, a property would have to have an assessed value of $33,333,333 and not be in compression. Looking at the county property tax information, if you take all of the individual properties that Cascade Timber Consulting manages for the Hill Timber Limited Partnership lands, that would be the only property taxpayer within the district boundary with that much property value. Another question we received, the flyer states that the district is using off-year elections with lower voter response, which can be a coached strategy by bond salesmen, education, and state board personnel. Is this claim accurate? School district local option levies must be renewed every 5 years. The last local option levy was in November 2018, which was a gubernatorial election. With board approval, the next local option levy election will be in November 2028, which will be a presidential election. November elections in odd-numbered years like this year are held because it is 5 years from when the last local option levy was renewed. The district received no advice from bond salesmen or anyone else outside our community about the election. Another question, the flyer says that Sweet Home ranks 215th out of 259 or 258 high schools in academic performance statewide. Where is this information from? We had to do some digging here, and the data appears to be from a website called schooldigger.com. Schooldigger.com uses a formula based on test scores to rank schools within each state. There's a strong correlation between the school's rank and the school community's median household income and parental education attainment level. Sweet Home High School's ranking is in line when compared to schools with similar and often better socioeconomic factors. For example, Sweet Home High School ranks ahead of McNary High School, Oregon City High School, Lapine High School, Lebanon High School, St. Helens High School, Central Lynn High School, North Marion High School, Cottage Grove High School, Ridgeview High School in Redmond, North Salem High School, and Bend High School. Sweet Home was slightly below Staten High School, Beaverton High School, Central High School and Independence, Aloha High School, and Sprague High School. Some school districts in Albany, as an example of this, have alternative high schools that rank near the bottom that result in their other high schools ranking higher. And then another common question we received is, who is the CISC PAC? And we had to do some digging on this one too, but according to information on the Secretary of State's website, the CISC PAC stands for the Candidate Information and Support Committee Political Action Committee. Its directors have Harrisburg and Lebanon addresses. The individual listed as the contact for CISC PAC correspondence is a Tigard address and a California area code. The Secretary of State's website lists contributors who have given the PAC more than $100. All but 3 contributors are from outside Sweet Home.
Yeah, and you can Google, political action committees on Secretary of State's website and see contributions, as well as when somebody sets up a PAC to run. I haven't, but when somebody sets up a PAC to run for an election, you can see the contributions too.
Any questions for Kevin? All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right, next we have our board policies. This is a second reading. We can take action on this evening, but if we were, it would need to be unanimous in order to pass on the second reading. So I don't know if there have been any questions. I know Dale had a question about one of the policies, if you want to throw that out there.
On the board meetings policy. Okay, on page 2. Yeah, because this one's different than the last reading. So on page 2, just before the 1, it states possession of dangerous or deadly weapons and firearms as defined in law and board policy is prohibited on district property. Personally, I think that should be struck because it's contradicting one other board policy and following the policy for students. So it's very ambiguous. It really throws a lot of question into it because we have it set for our district where individuals who are legally licensed for concealed weapon can carry on premises, as well as classified and faculty. So this would kind of throw that in the quandary.
But there's no line through it and there's no shading, so this is already existing, right? So we're not voting on an ambiguous policy, we already have.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's kind of different than, it's a different subject than what we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about whether we're going to adopt the changes. That's not really a change, so that's kind of got to be addressed separately, right?
We can address it separately. That's fine. I do know that this is in direct contradiction with policy in other places. So, and why it even exists in this policy, because this is around board meetings and board conduct, not around anything that has to do with a weapons policy or anything. So we can address it as a separate policy reading. Just set it up with the next cycle through as well. So
I did have a few concerns about some of the changes that I'll just go through them real quick here. On page 1, it's struck out, all meetings of the board will be held within the boundaries of the district. I'm trying to figure out, is that just because of the proliferation of Zoom and all the other stuff? So they're trying to say it's okay for, if somebody happened to be in California, they could chime in, because I mean,
Exactly.
I know we're never going to have a meeting.
That's
outside
exactly
the
it.
district.
No, you're always going to have somebody in the room here.
I'm assuming that's what that was for, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I believe so.
well, and we've had board meetings with a member in Afghanistan
Right.
before, so we may have been in violation with this policy if that's the case. But
And then the other thing is, where it talks about in next page in the line item 2, it talks about communications outside of board meetings, and it says communications to and by, and it's not really changing anything except strikes out a line about electronic communication. But on the next page, it says there's a bunch of stuff that would have been acceptable before to speak about outside of a board meeting, like agenda item suggestions, reminders, blah, blah, blah. And all those are stricken. And I'm just curious as to why any of those would be a problem now if they weren't a problem before. I understand that you can't have a quorum and be voting on stuff down at the tavern or through a text chain, but I don't understand the reasoning behind striking these out. I just don't want to have a situation where if a few board members want to make sure that everybody makes it to the meeting and they send out a reminder or something that they can't come back on them as an ethics violation. I mean, I don't really, anyway, I'm just everybody that's here, take a look at that before we vote on it the next meeting and see what you think about it, because I don't think it's great. And then the other thing, let's see, keep going here. I'm not gonna make it, there's a few things that were bugging me, but I'm not gonna make a big stink in a meeting about them, but there's some wellness stuff and yada yada, but the biggest one was on 6C, page 1-2, there's some new language, and it says about
Which policy is it?
retirement of staff, sorry.
Okay.
It's on page 6C in your book.
They're all these are 6C, yeah. That just designates where it's at on the agenda, so.
Retirement of staff. So, on the agenda, my bad, guys. Yeah, they're also, yeah, so the GCPC, GDPC, which is, I don't know how you find the page. Anyway, it says, in the new language, it says the superintendent will develop requirements, limitations, and procedures for employees as a PERS retiree. I'm sort of opposed to giving any more express responsibilities or express privileges to the superintendent. I think we did that early on at our first meeting, and it didn't work out so good for Foster. So I'm thinking, if we have the right to talk, just like we did with Steve, we retired him and said he could come back and double dip. I think we should retain that right and not just give that over to the superintendent. I think the superintendent has enough on his plate already, and I think he has enough responsibilities already. I'd like to keep that as a responsibility of the board. But that's all I had about that. And again, everybody just take what I said and think about it, and make up your own mind. But I just want to make sure that people had actually read through it, and that maybe I'm just crazy, but if you see it the way I do, then maybe you ought to vote no on the changes. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'll follow up on that, Floyd, on the communication outside of board meeting at the top of page 3-5 in BDA. The first one that we talked about, the board meeting policy.
I'll get back to it.
My best guess is they're trying to, somebody got in trouble for public meetings violation, and they're just trying to limit, I look at that and think one-way information from a board member or superintendent that says, don't reply all. I don't think that violates public meetings law, so I kind of look at this as you did and kind of wonder why they did that.
Well, and the reality of it is, in order to get, for lack of a better term, busted for public meetings violation laws or any kind of ethical violation, there has to be some kind of a complaint, right? And if we, as a board, decide we're going to do things a certain way, then it would have to take an outsider who really has an axe to grind, who really thinks we're doing something unethical, to file a complaint. And so if we leave our language as is and we're not acting unethically, then I don't think we have a problem. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion. I'm a better beg forgiveness and ask permission guy, and I just don't like an outside organization like the OSBA coming in and changing our language because of something that may or may not have happened somewhere else.
This isn't in context to the new bill that was passed in 23.
What House bill was it?
Yeah, that's what I was looking up, the House bill. It gives that in the footnotes.
You know the number?
It was 28.
House Bill 2805.
Yep. It has to do with the really public meetings and prescribing an effective date provides the use of serial electronic written communication or use of intermediaries to communicate may constitute meeting with governing body subject to public meeting laws. That, I'm assuming that's what that is. For the plan, it struck some of that out.
That could very well be, and I'm not here to argue it out, I'm just throwing it out there to make sure everybody thinks about it on their own, makes their own decision about it. But it was just something that caught my eye, so I decided to highlight it and bring it up in the meeting.
What was the name of, or that number again, or ORS?
It's
So upon disagreement with
it's enrolled.
changes, how, explain to me how that takes place.
So, we can change these and adopt with changes. So, that's not a problem if the board wants to go that direction with it. I would suggest that, maybe any proposed changes get cycled through, Terry. That way he can distribute it out to everybody. So, Floyd, if you wanted to give Terry a call and just say, hey, I got some things I want to kind of look at on these policies. Maybe he can have a conversation with you, get a little bit more information to you so you can come up with maybe what a change might be. And then that can be presented as a part of the third reading. And sometimes we just have a couple of options here where we go, okay, this is one option that's been proposed to us by OSBA. This is another option that we have. And here's kind of the reasoning why. So, but it's, again, it ends up, it's for exactly what's here in this policy, it has to go, if it's outside of this meeting, it has to go through Terry and then distribute it out that way to keep there from being what would be considered either an illegal meeting or a serial meeting where, you talk to Dale, who talks to Jenna, who talks to, and we all come up with something that way. So, it's best if this all gets handled through Terry and then he can help to come up with whatever the policy might look like or the changes might look like, and then get it out to everybody. And then we can have some time that way also to go through it before this next meeting. And, that way we have some time to think on it before it's the third reading. And if we choose not to adopt it on a third reading, we can start over with the process as well. So there isn't anything that says we have to adopt these. If we don't, it just remains status quo.
Right.
And we move from there. So, and the reason why we get these packets 90% of the time is in response to something like these House bills where the legislature has set up new requirements. And so they review the policies around that and then send us recommendations. So there's also the possibility that we get an outside legal opinion on it too, where we come up with something that's different than what's been proposed. And maybe we run it by Nancy Hungerford and say, does this follow the new law in place? Are we outside of that, or what's the situation? So does that answer your question?
Well,
Okay.
this isn't legal advice, but I'll comment that enrolled House Bill 2805, that this is referenced in the footnote that was passed by the legislature, did create a definition. Deliberation means discussion or communication that's part of a decision-making process. And it looks to be related to that and the way they're using deliberations later in the House bill. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't need,
I don't know.
we don't need to beat a dead horse tonight, it's just I was throwing it out there.
It seems to me around public ethics issues such as this, you had a fairly high-level scandal at the state with the Secretary of State. And I think you're seeing the legislature make a response to that. And the target ends up being those of us at the lowest levels of government, probably because we're the easiest ones to push around. That's where I think these bills are coming from out of the legislature. But that's just speculation on my part, so.
No, I think that's pretty good speculation. I've given ethics training to two sessions and one session next Wednesday for City of Toledo's public employees on public employee ethics. And there's a lot of, I just did a general Google. I probably got two slides with probably 12 different public employee ethics violations. I mean, there's ODOT employees that are creating invoices and putting together equipment and selling it on eBay. They got a 16-year prison sentence. There's the OLCC scandal with Irvin putting back bottles that 6 administrators there. So there's a lot of, I think the Secretary of State's had a lot to do with it, but there are a lot of them out there, and what they did, and it may be the same House, I don't think it's the same House bill, but the legislature expanded the Oregon Government Ethics Commission's authority to regulate complaints about public meetings law. And so if you go to the OGEC's website and look at the complaints that have been filed, the first 18, 20, 25 of them, there's probably 2 or 3 that are not public meetings related. So that's an area that they definitely started swinging the hammer.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll open it up for a motion, and so that there's no chance that we miss on that. And hearing none, we will move on to a third reading next month. Actually, no, I didn't get ahead of myself. Yeah, okay, we're good. All right, action items. Approve the 2024-25 budget calendar. Kevin, do you want to take this one on?
Okay, sure. The 24-25 budget calendar, we're getting to the time of the year where we need to be thinking ahead to setting the budget for the following fiscal year. And so we're presenting a calendar that is very similar to what we've been using the past few years for budget meetings. In fact, for the past few years, we've only needed to have one budget committee meeting. What we tried to do is get you the budget document ahead of time to you and to everyone on the budget committee, so you have a chance to review it. Then we come and have an opportunity at that first meeting to discuss it. And recently it's been approved at that meeting, but the budget committee could have a second or a third meeting too if you choose to. So yeah, it's just look at those calendar dates and make sure you're available either in person or virtually.
So this is a proposed calendar. We will need to take action on this or make changes if we need to.
It's worth mentioning too, that first budget committee meeting would be the same day as the May board meeting. We would just hold the budget committee meeting at 5, and we do that trying to have as few meetings as possible that you have to come to. Since you're already coming that evening, we would just start early with the budget committee meeting.
We need a motion.
Yes, yeah, this is an action item.
I move we approve the proposed budget calendar, 2024-2025.
I second that.
Okay, so motion to approve the calendar by Floyd and seconded by Dale. Any discussion?
So if we're unable to attend, then we can attend through Zoom.
We can do virtual, yes. All right, any other discussion?
Let me look at something. Let me look at May 15th. Yeah, if that second budget committee meeting, it is on a public meeting night that I have city. So I've probably got an hour there before the city kicks off.
And we are part of the budget committee.
Yeah, the budget committee is made up of all of the board members, as well as, hopefully, if we can get them, one member from each zone of the community. So be the 9 of us plus 9 other community members if we have people that will serve.
Kevin, how many, just a sidebar, how many people do we have on the hook so far? Anybody?
I think I want to say we have the board plus 4 people, I think, which is larger than what we had in the past. 4. Yeah, we have 4 people that have volunteered. And the key thing is just to make sure that we have people that will actually participate, because to pass something, if we have 18, which would be about the largest in the state, we need to have 10 people present to actually pass something. So if you know people that are willing to volunteer, that's great. Just make sure they can make those dates.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? So the motion is to approve the budget calendar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, we have approve the SIA Student Investment Account Grant Agreement.
Okay, how about I'll start on that.
Okay.
If you remember last month, we presented the final report for the 22-23 school year student investment account. Now what we are doing is we're bringing the grant agreement to you for the current school year. There is a statute that requires school districts to have board approval for this, and this is why it's coming to you. If you look through here, really the important information, and it is in the board packet, and it's on pages 22 and 23. These are what are called longitudinal performance growth targets, where it shows for information things like 4-year graduation rates, 5-year graduation rates, test scores, kind of what our goals are going forward. And what we're trying to do is show continued improvement in future years on those. So hopefully all of that looks good to you as far as our goals. And with that, in order to receive the funds, we need board approval, and that's why we're coming to you tonight for that.
Okay, any clarifying questions on any of this? I know it's a big packet there.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the SIA grant agreement.
I'll second that.
So we got a motion by Dale, second by Jenna. Any discussion?
So I know that, I believe the SIA grant number 1, meeting students' mental or behavioral health needs. So does that extend to like, those things that are in that, things like that? Because that is behavioral health, right? When these kids are excited and doing things, that's good for them.
Yep.
So do we use that type of money for activities and rewards and?
We can. We're currently using general fund dollars, but we could shift that into SIA as well. And so, yeah, we have, we can draw on SIA or we can draw on the general fund for those types of items.
We use the SIA for the summer camps.
We have in the past, there are, it's interesting now where in years past it was pretty much just the general fund that we really received. Now the state's coming out with a literacy grant, and so we might be able to tap into that. Definitely SIA, we have some federal elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds still to use that could be utilized as well. And so, yeah, there are various sources that could be used for that type of item.
Well, I was when you give us a report on how you spent the money last year and how it all went, I was pleased with that. And I'm assuming we're going to continue with more of the same type of policy.
That's the plan. Lower class sizes, it helps support counselors, are, eliminating pay-to-play fees, helping support our literacy and math efforts. Those are the primary things that we're focusing SIA on.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Okay, thanks.
All right, any other discussion? All right, motion is to approve the SIA grant agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, we have a couple of resolutions from OSBA. We are members as a board of OSBA, so they've asked us to vote on these things. First one here is Resolution 1, creates an Oregon Rural School Board Members Caucus and designates a seat on the OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee.
We got the legislative policy committee person first.
What's that?
Vote on resolution or person? C is the person.
Oh, I'm sorry, I scratched out the wrong one. I got ahead of myself. Yeah, so voting on OSBA Legislative Policy Committee candidate Sarah McDonald, position 10. We have 3 options on here. We can this is odd. Okay, Sarah Finger McDonald is what is on the sheet here. We can vote either for that person, abstain, or take no action, and it just is us saying we don't want to take part in it. So
I'm voting, let's not take part.
So you have to I don't know this person, so I'm kind of the same.
there was a where did I see it?
It's on our.
There's a little blurb about it that we got in our stuff, but still I don't.
That's been truncated, the real one was in the digital form. And so a lot of that, the information has been removed from this particular one, but
We did
Yeah, there is a
have a
handout that was given
two-pager
here.
that includes kind of a biography and
Yeah.
includes some
So-
of the organizations
Well-
she's affiliated with.
yeah.
And the question that I would pose out here is, does this person best represent the interests of the Sweet Home School District? Because that's who we would be voting to represent our interests at the OSBA legislative side of things.
I'm gonna say, no, I looked her up. Everything about her was screaming, like, let's just improve our math scores and our reading, and we're rural, and let's see what we can do about trees and all these other things. I'd be like all for her, but there's nothing
she
in the
wasn't that
resume
way.
that speaks to that at all. And so that's why I'm gonna say no.
For me, there's a lot of red flags. Partially because of how the Corvallis School District is operated, and partially because of stated positions that she's put here. I wish we had a second option, but it's tough to get people to jump in and spend that much more time, board members to jump in and spend that much more time at a state
So
level.
basically, if we say abstain or no action taken, she's gonna get elected anyway, but at least we send a message saying.
Most likely.
Necessarily support her.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, this is new to me. I've never had 3 options before. So I'm gonna get all of that.
Propose an option and we'll roll with that.
Okay, well, I don't know which one sends a clearer message, abstain or no action taken. What do you guys all
I
think?
know, I wish there was just a yes or no.
Yeah.
No action taken, I think, can be interpreted, we just didn't get to it on our agenda,
That's
maybe.
what
Yeah.
I would assume.
Okay.
Isn't that-
Well, I would move that we vote on item 7C, no action taken.
Okay,
I second that.
Yeah.
we have a motion and a second for no action taken as
Don't forget the
a
name.
vote.
Floyd motion.
Floyd motioned and Mary seconded. Thank you. Any discussion around this one? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Now we're back on track with where I was at. So Resolution 1 creates Oregon Rural School Board Members Caucus and designates a seat on the OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee. So here we have 4 options: yes to adopt it, no, do not adopt it, abstain, or no action taken.
I looked it up, and I am not, the vision is very ambiguous at best. They're just in their, they're in their infant stage. They just started less than a year ago. They're at the point of now electing people for the board. I would say at this point, we should not adopt until we really know what they're standing for. These are for communities, I believe, that are 20,000 or less.
To be in the rural is very, basically, you just apply.
Oh.
We would be concerned, having our population, we would be considered as rural.
So when you said anybody can apply, that can be.
They can, yeah, pretty much anybody can apply, except for like Portland area. So
Too
it's
big.
giving the rest of the state more of a say in policy and how we go about policy over the Portland metro area.
Mhm. Well, again, I'm just concerned those same red flags that were with that applicant are with what I'm seeing coming across from the rural board as well, that they're not screaming, how do we improve education? How do we set our kids up for success when we graduate? And that's what makes me concerned, that I'm not sure that this rural board is going to really have the interests of this community.
Well, to me, it's either, like you said, it's going to give rural communities a better voice, or is it inroads to infuse rural communities with more of the LGBT, social justice stuff? I can't decide which angle they're coming from here.
Yeah.
And that's why I would choose not to support it, because the OSBA in general, I'm not a huge fan of. I think they're a really, really liberal organization, and a lot of their stuff is not conducive with the community of Sweet Home, I think. This is my personal opinion. And if this rural thing is some kind of an end around thing to get more involvement in our community, I'm not for it. What do you think, Dale?
I know the president of the committee, I think she's actually, I think it's the smallest district in the state. So their school population is like hundreds, not, or like a couple of hundred, if that. And that was the whole purpose of her pursuing this, was to have a say, because they pass legislation or whatever, and then you're having to foot the bill for something that Portland or Salem area wanted to do, and it can blow these very small districts completely out of the water, where it's like with the whole, for example, the teacher union contract in Portland just now, that has sent ripples throughout the state. They're talking about possibly pursuing a minimum for each teacher in the state, which, that could really blow somebody's budget out of the water. Whereas usually your employment costs are about 80 to 82% of your budget. That could be throw small districts up into the 90s.
A statewide pay scale like Washington State.
But we're talking about OSBA, which sets board policies.
Well, we're talking about OSBA, which is supposed to lobby for school boards when it comes to the legal side of things. So I I look at it and I say, okay, if you have a group of rural schools who tend to be less into the politics of Portland Public Schools, Salem, Eugene 4J, Ashland, some of those ones, to me, it would be a good idea to pool that and be able to push a little bit more against some of that stuff, because there's a lot of stuff handed down, and we're going to talk about some of it a little bit later, that just doesn't fit these school districts.
Well, I agree, and if that's the nature of this thing, and that's why we'd be supporting it, then I'm all for it. But if, like I said, it's an end around trying to get more influence of the OSBA and their more, as you said, Portland 4J type attitudes infused into our district, then I'm not for it. So I just don't know enough about it to make that decision.
And I think one of the things that you said made me a little concerned, because I was saying I thought it was for 20,000 or less, and if anyone can join.
They had to set a market, but you can appeal that.
And the second thing is, and I can sympathize with this person from the small town who wants to start something amazing. But then when we have candidates like the one that we just said no to on the rural board, it feels like that is starting to infuse the big.
But I think that's the reason for this rural board. It's a caucus. It's a group that gets together and says, here's how we're going to pool our
votes on the OSBA.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Oh, so that person that we just said no to, she
She would not be, no.
And so the one thing this resolution one, sorry, Dale, says that you're creating the Oregon Rural School Board Members Caucus, and you're designated a seat on the OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee. So I think it's creating those positions. The OSBA Board of Directors will now have a rural person, and same with the Legislative Policy Committee.
I think the big thing is brand new. Why are we jumping on? We can revisit this after we see what it looks like.
I think it would be members of the caucus that would direct how the caucus goes. So, you see Sweet Home School District, and the values and principles that we hold dear are probably closer aligned with most of the Eastern Oregon districts that really truly have no voice when it comes to how the OSBA lobbies the legislature when it comes up. They're the districts that typically get pushed out in those situations, and that's where some of this bad legislation comes from, is OSBA as they're lobbying against what would be the interests of a lot of smaller districts like us. And so, go back to that policy that we were talking about and Dale brought up here. That was, and I am speculating here, but that was, I believe, slipped in this when we went through and we did all of our policy reviews. That is such a simple line in a policy that has nothing to do with weapons policy inside of the district, but it's slipped in, and that runs counter to the values of Sweet Home School District. And I think that's what this is trying to push back against to a certain extent.
They can watch it.
So,
still,
put somebody onto that board that has the opportunity at the board meeting, so that you don't have the way that it's divided up now, where you have all of the districts in this area represented by one person out of Corvallis who doesn't hold the values of the smaller school districts, rural school districts. You're giving those school districts an equal place on the board as those people would. And so that's where I see the value of this. And it's a caucus. It's going to be directed by the caucus members. It won't be directed by OSBA. So to your point, I don't think it's going to be a method for them to feed back down into the school districts. I think it's just a place where we have a chance to sit at the table as rural schools and say, we object to whatever it might be. This doesn't fit with our school district. This doesn't fit with our values. So keep Portland in Portland, and we'll do our thing over here. So,
I'll certainly like that.
Me too.
I sat in on at the summer, meeting in, Salem.
Mhm.
I sat in on this,
Oh, you did?
where they're talking about this. It was actually a table, and we got to ask a lot of questions. What they mentioned, that's how I knew about how they came up, they had to come up with a rural, definition of rural, because I think of us as rural, but we may not fit everybody's.
they don't think of us as rural in Paisley, Oregon.
Yeah. So that's what they had to come up with, a number, and it's I think it's per mile of district,
It says right here,
but then you can appeal that.
right, yeah, it says, population density of less than 200 people per square mile and/or total dual school district population less than 20,000 people. And all board members of Oregon Education Service Districts are eligible to participate in the Rural Caucus. So if you're on ESD. Okay, so
I think if
you sit in on the meeting and you agree with what
Yeah.
Jason's saying, that it's a plus, not a minus?
Yeah, I think it'd be a real plus for our district in pushing back against,
Well,
giving us a bigger voice.
yeah. Well, you were the man that was there, so I'm gonna take your word for it.
And if we're seeing Ruckrow,
Yeah,
We don't have to be a member of the caucus.
yeah.
we can just,
We don't have
This
to.
is just voting to say it's okay to set up the caucus.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
It's a committee as of right now, if I remember right? And then this is to give them the powers, because what this does, if it passes, it gives them a budget and it gives them a seat on the board and a seat in the legislative policy committee.
Well, you guys have changed my mind. I'm for it. So, I move that we adopt 7D, resolution number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Floyd and a second by Dale. Any discussion? I know we had a
So
lot
how
of
does this
discussion already.
communication happen?
What's that?
To this rural member? Who communicates to this individual representing our?
I don't know that that is yet set up. I think this is just laying the groundwork for the position,
Gotcha.
and then that will be worked out.
More than likely, we would have to, once we apply to be part of the caucus, and whoever is one of the board members or something that would.
Somebody to represent from the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully that's the way it works. That makes most sense to me. So, any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. So we're voting yes, adopt on that. And then E, Resolution 2, adopt the proposed amendments to the OSBA bylaws. And again, we have the 4 options: yes, adopt, no, do not adopt, abstain, or no action taken. And I have to admit, I didn't dig into this probably enough on this one.
And I'm right with you. It was a lot, and I'd be okay with saying no action taken on this one. I just don't know enough about it to adopt or not adopt. There's probably, like you said, there's some little line snuck in there somewhere that we're not gonna like. And,
well, I might have found one line.
is that right? What do you got?
It's on page, after the table of contents, it just says page 1, so that's not helpful. Bylaws, table of contents, turn to page, section 1, purpose.
Where now?
Wait, section,
It's,
article, oh,
it says,
Highlighted.
no, I highlighted, page 1, table of contents is on the left side.
So Article 2, missions and goals.
No, so it's, let me see, count.
A lot of page 1.
Yeah, so there's the first page 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the second series of page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera.
Yeah, there's the page that
And
says
so
bylaws
it
and then
says
it's.
section.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. yeah.
So
Now we're
as I was reading these, going down to item K, I guess. To do such other things as the member boards of board of directors may deem appropriate to the accomplishment of these and other purposes which tend to improve public education. That, to me, just sounds like we're giving you full reign.
Well, and that's already part of the bylaws, because the only thing they're changing on this page is the numbering.
Yeah, that's already in there. So we're not voting that out, because all we're voting is, again, whether we change. So basically, they just changed the letter of it. So, but you know me, I'm not a big OSBA fan. But there's nothing we can do about that at this meeting.
Right. So I think I was saying that only because it justifies why do a no vote or no action or something as opposed to pass.
Kevin?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, just for clarification, I think on page 7 of that section where it talks about designated representatives near the top of the page, currently, the designated representatives include the regional directors, plus they've already added a member from the Members of Color Caucus. So what this would do is add another member that would be from kind of the Rural Schools Caucus. And so I think the intent of this is so at the table, the rural schools would also have a voice. As an example, right now, our regional for the legislative committee are probably by default, our representative is going to be someone from Corvallis. The Members of Color Caucus have a member. This would add the rural schools as another member, just so the rural schools can have a voice.
But that was the resolution we voted on before, right?
I believe that formed the caucus. I believe this changes the bylaws, giving that person a seat.
Right, yeah, that's my understanding.
And the fifth
When you read
whereas-
designated.
So in order to get our rural caucus, we got to accept all their changes to their bylaws? That
This,
sounds like Congress.
very accurate,
It's
Floyd.
the fifth whereas statement, and the fifth bullet down, adding rural school board caucus representative to the board of directors and legislative policy committee. So yeah, that's what resolution 2 is doing,
But yeah, resolution 2,
is changing the bylaws.
Changing the bylaws to fit the seat of the rural member.
Yeah,
but this first resolution, resolution 1, that says, that establishes the caucus and amends the bylaws. So that's separate, that amends the bylaws on its own. We don't need to accept all their changes in order to get our rural caucus. If you look on, right after the voting
it does
sheet.
say. I notice that now, it does say bylaws, and at the top of it, it's the only place that says the.
Well, down the bottom it
no,
says.
down that second,
Be it
yeah.
further resolved that the bylaws of the proposed amendments and a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to all associated members, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, this
Remember that.
sounds to me,
Submitted to the membership consideration.
This is just.
the way I read it, we don't have to accept all the changes to their current bylaws. This is a separate item, the way I understand it. the thing that you were talking about, Kevin, on page 7 of 3.5.3, that actually strikes out the Oregon School Board Member of Color Caucus.
Well, yeah, what it refers to there is then it makes it, I think it keeps that one, plus it allows the rural to be added as well.
Yeah, it's instead of designating a specific caucus, I think it's opening it up so they don't have to change it each time. So it's just, if they add a caucus, then it automatically.
Which I don't know if that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because you could have the left-handed pitchers from South Central LA caucus if you wanted to. And, you know, are they going to represent the
They have to give.
values of?
I forget what the process is of going through the to create it. But it wasn't, like I said, it's taken about a year to do.
Yeah, basically, this just says, the caucus shall appoint a representative, and they have to be a member in good standing of the OSBA and an elected or appointed member of any public board of education. So I think it just changes the language a little bit and strikes out that caucus of colored business. Well, like I said, I don't know what's in the rest of this stuff, so I don't feel real confident adopting it. In my opinion, in my experience, most change isn't for the better. There's always somebody who has an agenda to change, but so did I move that we should not accept, or that was on?
We do not have a motion yet.
Okay. Well, I would move that we do not adopt.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to vote do not adopt. Any discussion? And that was Floyd motion, Mary second.
I'm sending you.
I'm getting tired. We're really good at the beginning.
All right, hearing no discussion, motion is to vote do not adopt on resolution 2. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So we're 6 and 1, Dale voting no. So the motion passes. All right, we got through those. So we have one public comment that was submitted this evening. So Annie, I'll go ahead and invite you up and you can go through your thing here.
Thank you. Before I go through this, you mentioned about prayer for Mr. Martin. And so before I read this, I'd like to say a prayer for Terry. Father God, I just asked, I have no idea what Mr. Martin is going through or what he needs to attend or what's being done. But I just ask that you protect him, his whole family, whatever the situation is, that you just give him a peace right now that is just so overwhelming. Guide him and direct him and bring him home safely. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Manuel, and many of you know I'm active in the district and also with educational and school advocacy groups around the state. Data here is drawn from the National and Oregon Department of Education, data sources as listed above and put into format that is much easier to understand than the ODE website. Data matches closely, was quality checked against the ODE website and attachments from October 9th school board meeting. Also, I'm not a data person, so I had help putting together specifically for Sweet Home, but data for all schools in Oregon is available from the sources above online. The national academic standards get reported every October across the nation, so these new numbers are just out for the academic year 2022. This information and much more is reported for many grade levels, but my focus today is just math, science, language arts for 11th graders, now seniors, since they'll be entering the workforce in June. And with no graduation requirement, they will likely not be caught up before entering the workforce or pursuing higher education. The Sweet Home School District Strategic Plan 2018-2023 does have outstanding achievements listed as priority, but not stated goals are subjective and not quantifiable. I also didn't see anything for actions or accountability in plan matrix. Items here are academic reporting for test scores and compilation data, so it is easy to quantify objectively and compare year to year. So the second slide shows Sweet Home High School academic progression over time. Currently, Sweet Home School ranks 215th out of 258 high schools in Oregon. In the lower chart for 2023, only 16.7% of high schools are doing worse than us. But if you look at 2017, just 5 years ago, Sweet Home was doing better than 65% of high schools in Oregon. The red columns in the data section gives you specific data points and ranking for years 2017 through 2023 without the COVID years. 9 years ago in 2014, we were better than 75% of high schools in academic performance. The bottom line here is that the graph needs to start going back up. Many times, if you look behind the data, you may discover why the data starts going down or up. Let's look at specific numbers. The number that really jumped out is the math scores. 92% of 11th graders are not proficient in math at grade level. Beaverton International School is the upper third, and it has about the same population as Sweet Home High, so I use them for comparison. They are 65% proficient in math. The bottom line here is a real tragedy. According to the Heritage Foundation and other national scholastic rankings, put Oregon at the bottom of all states for academic performances. Oregon was 48 out of 50 last year. We are now 50 out of 50. As outlined, if you're at the bottom of Oregon, you're at the bottom in the US, and the US ranks near the bottom of other industrialized countries. Here are the science and language arts data for 11th graders as well. 73% of 11th graders are not proficient at grade level in science and 70% in language arts. I will conclude with some basic recommendations. We won't go through them, but you can read them on your own. I haven't gone through the new curriculum, or if there are behind the scenes corrective actions not widely known to the public. I haven't seen anything in school board meetings. I just know any change will take a redirected focus on academic standards from the school boards and school administrators. Maybe a standing agenda report here to start getting back to where we were in 2017 and 2014. We know it has happened before, so we can definitely do it again. Notable that the Oregon Department of Education made national news October 19th. Once again, the ODE suspended graduation requirements until 2028. So you only need to show up to graduate. And I believe that was Senate Bill 744. The last thing is, I know that Floyd and Mary, I kind of worked with when we were campaigning for school board members. And I just want to say that I really appreciate you bringing up questions and concerns on some of these policies that are either they're looking to amend or to do something different or take actions. And so I appreciate the fact that I voted for you guys. and so it shows, that you guys are trying to make a difference. And I think one of the tough things for me at least is there's just so much information out there. And I mean, this is just a small little packet, but I think there has to be something in place where we can keep it simple, because for me, a lot of this stuff is confusing. And my objective is just keep the kids safe and get them educated. And all this stuff right here, it almost just seems that we're spending too much time on this, but what about little Johnny that didn't come up here because he's failing in school, or he needs that extra help? And I think having these kids come and get their awards is great, but this whole room should be packed. We should be having these awards at the gymnasium. And I just don't see that. And so I did send an email, and I hope I can get with someone and at least be more involved in what's going on, because I've talked to people where they feel, especially if they are teaching, that they really can't say anything, because I guess there's a bad stigma that they will be attacked in some way. And I really don't, I don't want to give names or anything, but I kind of feel bad, and I'm just sad that that we have to, I guess, go through this. It just seems, trying to figure out, are we going to allow this to come into the school, or are they going to do something down the road to, slip in, critical race theory or what have you. So I'm done. Any questions?
Well, first of all, thank you for putting this presentation together, Manny. And I read your back page here, and I do agree with the transparency and all that stuff. But I can't speak for anybody else on the board. I can only speak for myself. But I agree with everything you say here, but I think that most people would agree that we're failing, and our kids need a better education. But if you look back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the meeting, what Kevin was talking about, where our ranking is out of the 256, there's a lot of great schools that are doing worse than we are. And I'm not saying that we're good by any means, but what I'm saying is it seems to be to me, yes, we can do better, but it's not as much of a local problem as it is a state problem. The state is suspending these graduation requirements. The state has given us all this extra stuff we have to do where we can't focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so I think the public at large wants to point the finger at us and say, we're not doing our job. And in ways we aren't, but we're trying.
Yeah.
And the lobby needs to be, yes, we need to hear input, and we need to work more closely with people like you and the community members, but the community members also need to be realizing who they're voting for representative, who they're voting for governor, who they're voting for senators, and writing letters and doing that stuff, because a lot of this stuff is getting rammed down our throat. And some of it we can say no to, but some of it we can't, because you guys pay a lot of property taxes, but you don't pay enough to pay all these teachers and run all these buses. So if we don't do some of the stuff the state tells us to do, they're not gonna give us any money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a real problem. But like I said, I'm just speaking as one board member, but I appreciate your concerns, and I feel all of them. And that's what I can't speak for anybody else, but I think that that's what we're all trying to work towards. But I don't want you to think that we're blowing you off, you know what I mean?
No,
we are trying.
Right, no, again, I did run for school board, and I'm kind of sitting down and watching you guys go through this stuff. I'm like, I'm really glad I don't know if I could handle that. So, Jason, there was an email that you sent to me a while ago, and I really haven't had time to really respond to it. And, one of the things that you did say though on that email was that there should have been more, I guess, more time for people when we elect whoever we are electing, that we do our diligence into those people that we put into place. And so I did talk to Mary, I did talk to Floyd, I didn't get a chance to talk to Jenna, but I knew a little bit more who I was voting for. And so that's why I wanted to say thank you for, obviously by you picking out some concerns and Mary and your involvement. I'm grateful for you guys because that's what I elected you guys to do. And so at that, I have to go. But if there's anything else.
Yeah, it's like 1:45.
That clock is moving.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are these based off state testing? Is this state testing?
This, I actually grabbed off of, I think you even mentioned, or someone mentioned the site.
School
Digger. School Digger. And so I believe it is state. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Do you-
Mel.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Do you want, I mean, we are hearing you and we have tried to respond to some of the issues you've raised. So maybe if you do have just another 10 minutes, we could address some of the concerns that you've raised.
Yeah.
If that's
I
good.
have to get going. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know,
So this is being broadcast on YouTube, correct? And it will be available if you want to review.
Okay.
For this end
Okay.
section, so you can see what Kevin's going to bring forward.
great,
here.
thank you,
So-
yeah.
Okay. All right, next we have board comments. Any board comments?
So we're not gonna go through that?
We will, we
Oh, we
will.
are. Okay,
Yep,
I'm
we're just
sorry.
following the agenda here. So, because it was added as a late item.
I know I'm doing a lot of talking, I'd like just to make one more quick comment as a board member. Yeah, Manny's right, we need to do better, we've talked about this before. But I would put a call out to all the board members to just maybe, when you're driving down the road or you got nothing, think of maybe some kind of a resolution we can put forward, whether it's, opening up an inquiry or whether it's, coming up with some ideas that we can make our scores better. Because we used to be one of the better schools in the state, and now we're one of the worst schools in the state, and the state's the worst in the union. And my sweet home pride tells me that's not acceptable, and I want to see our kids do better. But it's got to start somewhere, and if we can come up with an idea, get an agenda item going, and I'm not a genius, I haven't thought of anything, but maybe some of you all can, and because it's got to start here. So if we can come up with something that's, any little things that are going to help, and get them, and we talk about them in a meeting and maybe vote on it or whatever, that's, because we all have the same goal in mind. Nobody wants our kids to be dumb, and so, that's all I have to say.
Well said.
Okay, any other comments?
Were we gonna talk about a woman sent in a letter?
That is for everybody's, to go ahead and read through. And if there are any questions, I've already talked with Josh a little bit about it, and those concerns are being addressed. And if we would like to, we can probably have him report out a little bit more on it in the future. But yeah, that's, and that comment is a matter of public record, so it's being recorded with the minutes and all of that stuff. So, all right, Kevin, I'll let you take over the late item then.
Okay, I'd just like to begin, by thanking Manny for sharing this information and also providing to you, the board, to provide an opportunity to respond to it. How about we kind of have a short PowerPoint, and let's see, Josh can switch. Should I just go ahead and start? Okay, let me go ahead. from the beginning. Okay. So to begin, I just kind of wanted to talk about the information where Sweet Home is ranked 215th. If you look on the internet, there is a website called schooldigger.com, and they primarily used test scores to rank school districts throughout Oregon, and this is where that information is coming from. What you'll see is that there is a strong correlation between the school's schooldigger.com rank and the school community's median household income and parental education attainment level. Sweet Home High School's ranking is in line when compared to schools with similar and often better socioeconomic factors. Really this was the same information that was used on that Vote No flyer for the swimming pool, and so you can see some of the schools that Sweet Home High School actually ranked ahead of. And then here's a list of schools where we were slightly behind, and kind of, as I mentioned, with the Vote No on the pool flyer. Some districts, in Albany is a good example of this, they have an alternative high school that ranks near the bottom, but as a result, their other high schools rank higher, and you can kind of see that when you look at some of the high schools in our region and you look at English language arts scores for 11th grade for percent proficient, South Albany had the highest percentage. The lowest percentage was Albany Options School. And so, if Albany Options didn't exist, my guess is you would see South Albany's percentage come down, but having Albany Options helps both South and actually West Albany too. But in this group of kind of schools in our region, South Albany was the highest for English language arts for percent proficient, followed by Sweet Home, then Central Lynn, then Harrisburg, then Lebanon, then Albany Options. When you go over and you look at math, South Albany was at the top, followed by Lebanon. Sweet Home and Central Lynn were in the middle. If for a school, if you were below 5%, ODE did not release the data, and so for both Harrisburg and Albany Options School, what we know is it was somewhere below 5%. Kind of on the encouraging side, the state has different levels, and level 2 means you just miss the bar, you're just under being proficient. And so we had the highest percentage of students that were just below that bar, and so the hope is, especially with this being, that they won't take the test again senior year, but hopefully, we can do a good job, help those students, and, the actual percentage of students that are proficient will be going up if we can help get these kids over. And you can see that compared to the other schools in our region, we had the highest percentage of those kids that were just a bit under. Something else that's interesting too, and maybe you've done this, if not, I would encourage you. If you go out to the ODE website, you can actually see sample questions. And I don't know if any of you have tried this, but I went out there and I chose 11th grade math, and I think it's worth sharing with you. So you have an idea of what our students are being asked, what an 11th grade math question is. This is the first one that comes up there. So what it is, I'm going to read it out just so you have an idea of what they're asking our students. They talk about a student named Abby, and they say, Abby is making a movie. She is filming a dinner scene, and she has 2 types of candles on the table. She wants to determine how long the candles will last. She takes a picture, lights the candles, and then lets them burn for 1 hour. She then takes a second picture. You can assume that each candle burns at its own constant rate. The initial height of candle type A is 20 centimeters. The initial height of candle type B is 10 centimeters. After burning for 1 hour, candle type A is 16 centimeters and candle type B is 9 centimeters. Then states that you will use this information to help Abby think about the candles she might use for her film. And then some of the questions. 1, what will be the height of each candle after 3 hours of burning? 2, which candle will burn out first? Provide a mathematical explanation to convince Abby of your solution. Clearly identify the quantities involved. And this is interesting. One of the changes from the test that used to be given, it was more multiple choice. Now, even on the math side, you have to be kind of doing a narrative, typing in a mathematical explanation to convince Abby of your solution to this problem. Third, at what moment will the candles be the same height? And they ask you to write how you determined your answer. So it's not just enough to do the math and figure out when that's going to occur. You then, for the math, have to explain how you determined your answer. I could pause now for 5 minutes and let everyone tackle this, but seeing the time, I'll probably skip that. I'm just going to talk. I'm going to talk about me personally. I'm thinking back to when I was an 11th grader. You could give me a standardized test question about candles used in a dinner scene for a hypothetical movie. And realistically, my mind would be on anything besides candles. In fact, if you gave me, I was talking with Ralph about this, if you had given me the same problem and maybe asked how many dump truck loads of rock are necessary to build a logging road, that would have engaged me and I would have figured out the answer. But realistically, my mind is elsewhere. And so one of the challenges we have for this test is that it's very probable we do have students that know the math and can provide the answer. It's just that they've checked out. And so one of our challenges is how do we engage kids in a test that they don't see the value of to take it seriously. So that's just kind of a point that's worth mentioning in this.
There again, we're back to a state problem, not a sweet home problem, right?
Exactly.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we have any metric that we use that's outside the state, but just local, so we don't, like a before and after test?
How about Barbie? Do you want to touch on that?
Well, we have some sample questions that we can do with blueprints, and so we provide that opportunity for our teachers to prepare the kids as best as we can. But again, we don't have the option of picking the questions. So again, with this candle situation or something that would be more engaging for our
Or
students.
do you do I ready from like K through 8 at the beginning of the year? And
We
then
do it 3 times, we assess 3 times, and there's also the ability to work on that, just.
That would be a good metric to look at, to see if there's growth that way outside of the candle.
And we do get that data often.
And are you seeing better scores than what we're seeing here?
Yes, and the one thing about this OSAS test is one lens. It's one lens of the assessments that we give our students. And our teachers are out there giving daily assessments.
Right.
And, I know that the state places a lot of focus on this one test, but we try and tell our students, obviously we want them to give their best, but again, it's one lens.
Well, obviously our kids can't be this dumb. They'd be walking around the halls, bumped into each other and falling down, crashing their cars. I mean, the scores say that everybody's really stupid, and they're not. So it seems to me that, yeah, there's work to be done, but sometimes the testing could be skewed too. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Well, the test, especially like this type of a test, is Barbie talked about this a little bit, it's a one-time snapshot. It doesn't take into consideration everything that rolls around that one-time snapshot. And, so I think one of the things that this district has done a good job of is going beyond this type of a test, this standardized testing, to really get constant looks at where the kids are at. And I think if you're testing like 3 times a year with the one, you have a better chance of knowing where the kids are out of those 3 tests and seeing what the progress might be out of those 3 tests than you were just once a year. What is it, 4 grades, 3 grades throughout their career?
3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, yes, 8th.
So yeah, just a snapshot here, snapshot there, not taking into consideration, anything else that might be happening at the time. So.
Well, I can attest, I have one of my children that struggles in reading and one that does not. the pattern in which the one that struggles in reading has always been the same Arch, is improved at his same rate. But then I have another one that does great in reading, has no issues, but on these iReadies or on state testing, we'll see a high, we'll see a dip, we'll see a high, we'll see a dip, and it just continually goes up and down. So to me, honestly, I shove those aside and I have a communication with the teacher. Where is my kid at and how is he doing? Because it is, and you can opt out of these tests. Like, some kids don't take, what is the percentage that are opted out? Do we know that in our district?
We have very few that opt out, but we have to have a certain percentage that do
To take
the test.
So I mean, there are families that just don't take it just for the reason that these kids, it doesn't really reflect what they know based off of what they're being asked.
Well, and I think that Jenna hit on something that's probably the most important thing in education, and that's parental involvement. And where you have parents that are involved in their kids' education, that are concerned with how their kids are being educated, that are backing up the education of the teachers at home, those kids will be more successful than what a lot of these kids that we see have, where parents are busy working multiple jobs just to try to get by. They're maybe doing something outside that is their own interest rather than focusing on their kids, things like that. And I think that's what the personal touch side of Sweet Home's education. We hear Steve talking about that a lot, and it's there. It's my youngest boy, we drug him across the finish line kicking and screaming. He would not have graduated had it not been for one counselor at the high school and us dragging him across. And my wife and I have been very involved in education and their education. She's been in a classroom ever since the kids were in preschool and working with the boys all the way through. And I've been on this board now for 19 years and doing everything I can on this side because this is how I can contribute. And yet it takes that kid wanting to get through their life and make it to the end. And so
I think we're fighting a lot of stuff. We've got a urban bias. Whoever wrote that candle test probably never sat in a dump truck. You know what I mean? Honestly. And we've got city people writing tests for country kids. And the biggest thing, and I'm not an educator, my wife is, but I know nothing about it. But I'm from the school of hard knocks, and I know being a citizen, the most important thing you need to know is how to learn. You don't need to memorize the numbers. You might not even need to know the formula to figure out that candle thing. I can't do that with algebra, but I can sit there and do trial and error until I figure it out. You just got to know how to learn. And I think sometimes you guys think we're attacking you, and I'm terrible about griping about the scores. We have incredible teachers. We have incredible administrators. We have incredible faculty. We have incredible staff. Everybody is wonderful. We're fighting poverty, and we're fighting drugs, and we're fighting all the stuff that a lot of these semi-rural communities fight. But the biggest fight we're fighting is this rural-urban bias. We've got the cities trying to shove their ideas down our throats. And I think as a board, we can be united and get our heels dug in and fight against that. And that's one of the best things we can do to save our kids. Because our kids aren't dumb. I mean, I made a joke about that, but our kids aren't dumb. They want to learn. They want to be productive. Most of them. There's always a few that aren't going to make it. But, I don't know. I hope we can come up with some ideas to, look, if the kids are smart, I don't care how they test. You know what I mean? That's just placating the state but they gotta be smart. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. And if you teach them how to learn, if the teacher doesn't teach it, they can figure it out on their own. Everybody's got a phone. You can Google it. You know what I mean? You just gotta learn how to learn.
Well, how about I'm in the home stretch, and Lloyd, thank you, because not too long ago I had a discussion about, when it comes to the state school fund, what's more important? One person that I was talking to said what's most important is making sure that teachers in Lake Oswego can afford to live in Lake Oswego. I was saying it's far more important to make sure that our homeless students with special needs, that we're giving them the education they deserve. And so there is a battle going on there. And I hope as a community, we can rally together for our kids, because, statewide, there is a limited amount of money, and there are a lot of people that would like to see it spent in different ways. But my hope is, we have one of the highest homeless percentages in the state of Oregon and one of the highest special education percentages in the state of Oregon, and I want to advocate for those kids. So with that, how about, again, we're in the home stretch, just back to the presentation. The presentation compared Sweet Home to the International School of Beaverton, and just kind of want to touch on that. Every school district in Oregon for each school provides school profile information to the state, and so I can look out there and find out more about the International School of Beaverton. And I have to say, yes, their standardized test scores are higher than Sweet Home High School. But it's also interesting to see some of the other information about the International School of Beaverton and compare it to Sweet Home High School. First, percentage of students eligible for free lunch. Due to the community eligibility provision, as a community, we have a high enough poverty percentage that we're able to qualify all of our students for free lunch. International School of Beaverton, only about 1 out of every 5 students qualifies. Special education percentage, if you just take Sweet Home High School, we were at 22%. International School of Beaverton, ODE did not release that information, which means it's below 5%, so somewhere in that 0 to 5% range. The at-a-glance profile also asks the school to talk about career technical education classes, and I think Ralph gets credit for writing the one for Sweet Home High School, but he talks about how we offer construction, metals, family and consumer sciences, agriculture, and a vast selection of business and computer classes. We've recently added natural resources and forestry and industrial engineering systems and entrepreneurship. The at-a-glance for the International School of Beaverton, this is exactly what it says there, none. Extracurricular activities. Our report says that we offer a wide variety of activities for students to become involved with during their high school careers, including band, choir, drama, JOSI, forestry, FFA, dance, cheer, journalism, and 17 sports programs. International School of Beaverton says refer to the website, and so I looked on their website and they talk about clubs. Some of the clubs that students may join include the SAT, ACT Prep Club. Think about that one. They do better on standardized tests. And so if we have kids that are joining as an extracurricular activity, the SAT, ACT Prep Club, we could probably boost our test scores. I don't know how well that would go over, but that is a...
Incentivize it with candles.
Well, exactly, yeah. They probably get lots of candle questions at the SAT, ACT Prep Club meetings. They also have a competitive Pokemon club.
I just want you to explain what that is for us.
I have never played that, but I understand what, is it a card game of? I don't know, okay. Fortunately, my kids haven't shown interest in Pokemon, so.
We'll play around next time, guys. I'll bring all
and the Environment Club. And so, you put all of this together and, I guess this is important as a community, especially when we are being compared to a school like the International School of Beaverton. We could be doing things to try to make Sweet Home High School more like the International School of Beaverton. But I think in the end, and this is really for you as a school board, what's important to our community, and are we headed in the right direction with Sweet Home High School, or should we be shifting towards something that's maybe, I think, like you said, more of a urban type school environment? And so that I'll leave it at that.
I'll just add, there was a bill.
I wasn't suggesting that.
Okay, well, and I think
bill in the legislature to take away a lot of local control from school boards.
Yeah, and that's something that needs to be watched.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, we gotta be diligent about that. Thank you, Kevin.
Beaverton's student body of their school is the same, roughly the same as Sweet Home High School.
The size?
Yes.
I would have to look back at the report. I think Manny said
I think it said it was
that.
862 kids.
I think
We have
Manny
around
said
800,
that.
don't we?
We're just near that 800
Pretty soon.
mark, so,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So one
Yeah.
big difference between Beaverton International School and Sweet Home School District is Beaverton International School is what would be considered like a magnet school. So it is a school that you must apply to, and then you're lotteried in. And they have, 4, I believe, different magnet schools where they separate kids out based on interests. And so you're taking a group of kids who is at 6th grade heading towards a certain direction, and that's the test group that they're testing with. And so, to say it's a fair comparison, I could come up with all kinds of reasons why, based on socioeconomic factors and things like that, why it isn't a fair comparison. The median income in Beaverton is $83,639, and Sweet Home is $56,723. Big difference. And if you break that down to per capita, it's $48,119, and it's $28,349 in Sweet Home. So per person, you've got a $20,000 a year difference in just the funds that back up all of that stuff that goes into what creates a solid home life and a good parent-student relationship. So not really the best to compare, and I'm not trying to say this to take away from what Manny was saying with these test scores and things like that, but the comparison there is probably not a good one to make the point. The other thing I did see in doing some research is one of his recommendations is to reject the Oregon Department of Education agenda-driven policies. In that comparison, it doesn't take very long on Beaverton School District's website to find out that they've fully bought in to CRT and all of those different agendas that are being pushed from the state that we have pushed back on. And so, is that truly who we want to be emulating here? And is that what represents the community best? And so, it is an unfair comparison, and I'll leave it at that, but I'll still take the test scores and the criticism there. One other thing I did want to touch on is regarding the graduation requirements being suspended. That is a dangerous lie that's floating around out there. The graduation requirements are no different today than they were before. The kids still have to attend the same number of credits, pass the classes, all of those things. What has been suspended is one assessment test. That's it. And so for a kid to graduate from high school in Sweet Home School District, they still have to do everything the same as they had to do prior to that test being suspended. And that test was only in place for 1 or 2 years prior to it suspending? Yeah. So that is false information that's being circulated around by people for an agenda that's being pushed for whatever purpose. So I just want to address that. That is not true. Graduation requirements have not been suspended. They're the same as they've been prior to that test even being instituted. So.
And our graduation requirements to get our degree, her graduation degree, are higher than the state's.
We do have, a Sweet Home degree or a Sweet Home diploma and a state diploma that we offer. And the Sweet Home diploma is more rigorous than the state diploma is.
Do you know what
So
percentage graduate with that diploma? What was that percentage? 88%.
Very, our honors diploma and the standard 24 credit. And I don't have the number, honors diploma number.
Just that. Or was it 20%, 80%, or we just don't know, have a range for that?
Well, we got the honors diploma, we pick up extra, You have to take extra math, extra science, you actually make it a college prep diploma, basically, state is standard, you make it work. And a lot of times with the kids, when they get in, it's your family pressure or kid pressure, they want to get that, particular one. But like I said, I apologize. Their policy.
We have the personal finance and the third one.
There's some things, the state's adding some stuff back in, but that's, they're adding it back in, only 25, but they haven't told us exactly how they're doing it yet. So, that's just what we.
I just don't find that amazing, so that's just another awesome, I was thinking about your last question, it was a while back, that it was like, do we want to become like that? And I think the answer is that there's the best of both worlds, academically and the all-around whole child, because it was only 6 years ago we were there. Unless that's not accurate.
So you have some differences in the testing as well that came on. I talked to Barbie a little bit about this earlier today. 2015, the testing changed, and the standardized test was deemed to be less rigorous than it needed to be, and so there was a new test that was implemented that was more rigorous. That's where you see that drop in testing scores. Okay. And then we pushed back up to where that you see that climb in the test scores. And then very quickly after that, you had COVID and all of the hassles that went along with that. And nationwide, you're seeing roughly, what is it, a 2 grade level drop in the standardized tests as a result of COVID. And I can tell you, I'm not proud of everything that happened during COVID. And looking back, there's probably some things that we as a district could have done differently. But honestly, the pressure coming from the state, we were threatened with a $50,000 fine from OSHA because of one school board meeting that we had zero control over. There was information out there being circulated around about the pulling of teachers' licensure if they didn't comply with the stuff that was happening with the COVID restrictions and things like that. There was talk out there about the governor, who is the state superintendent of schools, having the power to come in and dissolve a board and appoint whoever they feel should be that board and take over. So, that is what this board at the time pushed back against, was a lot of that stuff. And if you look at probably the biggest example of who pushed back, and that's LC, and they're still in chaos over there currently. That district is a mess at this point. And it stems back from that point. So, we have to pick up, we have to take these lumps, pick up where we can and move forward. And, it's sad for the kids that are stuck in the middle. But I feel confident, after 19 years of working with these teachers, I feel confident that we have the right people in place to make these kids whole again. And so, I tend to take this type of thing personally, and I try not to, but it's just because I've spent so much of my personal time at this level, trying to keep these things going in this district. And so I will try not to take this personally. I'm going to look at it as facts and things like that. I will push back against some of the falsities, but yeah.
Well, the bottom line is, a lot of us in this room went to school here, and when, not that many years ago, we wrestled, and we played football, and we had band, and we had a chess team, and we did all that stuff, and we didn't just do Pokemon and SAT clubs, and we still turned out pretty good scores, and to this day, we're turning out pretty good kids. We're turning out community leaders, we're turning out people that know how to work, and that's important, and they know how to learn. So we're not doing everything wrong. Everybody, the public thinks we're doing everything wrong. And I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I don't think we need to adopt the Beaverton model to turn out good kids. I really don't. The Sweet Home model works pretty good, and it has for 100 years. If we just fine tune it a little bit and maybe get the state off our back a little bit somehow, I think we can get back to turning out some really stellar educated kids. 'Cause that's the bottom line. Yeah, the chess and the football and all that stuff's great, but it's about education. That's really what our mandate is. And I think we can do it. I'm just going on personal, I think this is the most productive school board meeting we've had since I've been here. And I know it ran long, but I really feel good walking out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a good discussion.
Yeah, it really was.
It seems like every time we have something come up in the public, it ends up revealing more and more that the school district is outstanding.
I hope so.
I mean, that's every time, when I leave, I feel that like every time. A couple of times ago, I said to somebody when I left, it's like, oh, what a great school district this is. So, and I know numbers aren't everything, and especially, you guys are all right, that standardized test is a snapshot. It is very challenging, it overwhelms most kids. And, but when you've got a whole bunch of data points, you have an advanced opportunity for a better degree or diploma. All those things are amazing.
If you peer into the dark looking for monsters, you're gonna see monsters.
Right.
If you turn on the lights and figure out what's actually what, that's when you can make things better.
Mhm.
And so, that's our job as this board, is to turn that light on and see where things are at. And make sure that we're not looking for monsters, we're actually seeing what the problem is and dealing with those things. So. Okay, any other discussion? Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
All right, future agenda items, next board officers meeting, is Tuesday, January 2nd at 3:30 in Terry's office. And next board meeting is January 8th, 2024 at 6:30 PM here in the district office boardroom. And I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Take some time with your family and
Safe.
yeah, safe New Year.